Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Touch Tales, Stories Behind the Hood. I'm your host, Frank Vargas, aka Traveling Frankie. You know how this works. I sit here, somebody sits there, we happen to have a conversation, and I'll post it somewhere, which happens to be YouTube. Today, here we are in Galloway, New Jersey, for one of the GATA regional meetings. And I have a good friend of mine that we've known each other for many years now. We run into each other every show, every city, you name it. Kurt, Tarkany. See, I was about to mess that up. And usually that happens a lot. Kurt, thank you so much for taking time and just sitting with me to do whatever this is.
Yeah.
And I think by now you kind of know the MO behind Torch Tales. I love the industry, love to share where people come from, why they're here. And then at the end of the conversation, of course, we'll touch who you work for, what you do for them, what they do. For me, that's the icing on the cake. But what's important is to know who Kurt is. So now, first of all, how long have you been in the industry?
Oh, a little more than 21 years.
You're more than 21 years.
Yeah.
And all of that with the same company?
Yeah.
Really?
In this industry, it's all been with the same company, yeah.
Wow, you don't see that a lot. So kudos, because sometimes we see a lot of people just kind of jumping here and there, not because they want to. Sometimes, companies close, whatever whatever you might say out there, but we get it. It's part of life. Now, where are you from?
I'm originally from Northeast Ohio.
Okay, so you are born and raised, and you're still there?
I am back there. I went away for school and basically ended up back in the area. And Northeast Ohio in this industry does have its presence as well.
It does.
So it kind of a natural how it all flowed back into being back there. So yeah, pretty much been there.
So now where did you leave to go to college? So
I went to Ohio State.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you went there with a specific vision of something that you wanted to do. And we'll touch on what that is and so on and so on. But as a kid, growing up, was the town big, or was it where you were born in?
The town that I grew up in was a suburb of Cleveland, and an outer ring suburb on the west side, and it was small.
Gotcha.
It wasn't a lot of commercial stuff. It wasn't like it was spread out where there was land everywhere.
Okay.
I mean, there really wasn't much land left by then, but 20,000 people.
All right. And do you have any siblings? Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I do. I've got one younger brother.
Yeah. Is he in the industry at all?
He's not in the industry, but he's in a similar type industry. Where it comes to. His background is labels.
Gotcha.
So it involves all of us in ways.
Who doesn't? There's not a single industry that doesn't use some sort of labels, right? Right. Now, growing up as a kid, what were you into? What kind of kid were you?
I was very active.
Yeah.
From the standpoint.
Active in a good way or in a bad way?
For the most part, in a good way.
All right.
No, but including my brother is 2.5 years younger, and was the two of us, so family of four. And
gotcha.
We were, active in. Mostly sports-related activities, whether it was playing on team sports during the school year and early, into the summer of that. But we did a lot of skiing and traveling.
Gotcha. Traveling as a family?
As a family.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we were busy.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Now, what kind of sports were you guys playing?
I was playing soccer and baseball and basketball all up, into high school, and then kind of focused on the soccer side of it. My brother was doing the same sports, and then in high school he focused on basketball.
Gotcha.
And then, at that point, that was the end of the road for sports.
Right.
But it was great because you got to learn how to, be a teammate.
Oh, are you kidding? You and I have had that conversation before where the sports behind the background and what we've done, and there's no other better school out there that teaches you how to deal with people, how to be competitive and just have that drive. And now that I mention and I say that, are you a competitive person?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. And did you find yourself competing a lot against your brother, or you guys actually really got along very well?
No. I mean, we were 2.5 years apart, so I think that's a kind of a natural competitive, especially if you are doing some of the activities that we did. Yeah, we weren't on the same teams because our ages were different.
Of course, yeah.
But yet you were still doing all that stuff at home.
Yeah, right.
So there was that competition. But I think it's one of those things like, yeah, you compete with your sibling like that when it's one-on-one. But when it becomes you against other people with your sibling,
Oh, yeah.
now you're on the same team.
Oh, yeah, for
And
sure.
you see those things, yeah.
For sure. And growing up in Ohio, and then sports is kind of coming to the end of the career, high school, whatever. Did you kind of knew when you went to college what you were going for, or you were going for the electives and then find, I'll see what happens?
No, I did really know that I wanted to go into business.
Yeah?
I guess I would say that you can eliminate some other things naturally just because, okay, I'm not an overly artistic person.
Correct, right.
In that career. It comes down to, especially in the fields we're in,
Yeah.
People are either in business, came up through the business side, or an engineering side, right?
Correct.
And engineering, to me is fascinating, but it's not something that I really looked at going through a program like that. So I came up through the business side, kind of to answer your question, wanted to do the business side and went up through like the marketing side of it. So, I did a focus marketing wise.
So now when you are in college and you're there, as you are going through year 1, year 2, and you're getting closer to, at that moment, your end goal, whatever the end goal seems like it was, right?
Yeah.
Were you thinking, okay, so now I'm going to have this title, now I'm going to have all this knowledge. What next? What exactly am I going to go look for?
Right. Yeah, there was that. And I think even before that, you had the situation where you had mentioned you got the electives, and some people go to college and they kind of need to bounce around a bit. And they do that for your program too.
Yeah.
Right? They want you to take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and you learn very quickly either I like that and it surprised me, or it's not for me.
In the beginning, they're also just making mom and dad happy. It's like, hey, I'm going to college. What else you want?
Right.
Yeah. I just haven't figured out exactly what I want, but I'm going to college.
And they're going to take half your hours on things that you're not really going to use.
Correct.
But I think it does get a lot of people to look at something and say, maybe I do like that, especially if you're really not sure. For me, it kind of helped reinforce that. But once I got into, as an upperclassman, where it was into your core major, the business and all those different things, that's where I really even excelled better at that point, because you weren't kind of all over the place, you were focusing more on the idea of what you're going to do in the future, right?
Correct.
You're going to be in business, you're going to be dealing with people in finance, you're going to be dealing with
things that you're still going to use regardless, right? What road you take at the end.
Yeah.
And knowing what you went through in college, the knowledge that you acquire, knowing all the experience you have in the industry, 20 years plus, seeing some of the people out there that are still thinking going to college or not, do you still believe and recommend college?
It's it's not for everybody, but the one thing about going to college always was, if you could do it, it kind of kept that door open. You didn't have to necessarily go through that same door or go through and then go straight. You could go this way or that way.
Correct.
But there was kind of a stigma.
Yeah, correct.
It wasn't the easiest. Now I think it's kind of, it's a little bit different than it certainly was for me back in the late 80s.
Yeah.
When I was doing that. But I would recommend it for anybody who has the thought process of, hey, I'm want to learn more things. I need to see more things.
Exactly.
But I certainly wouldn't force somebody who, was going to wanted to go into the trades or wanted to, now we all need welders in our industry, right?
Yep.
And they're making good money.
Yep.
And they do get educated. They go through the programs, and some of those guys that go and gals that go through good programs are in a great spot, and they're not walking out with major debt.
That's one thing for sure.
So there's more than one, and you can go into that, and now you see success stories of people coming out of that into the corporate side.
Correct. Yeah,
it's becoming more
over thin. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so
and it's more accepted nowadays too. Where a lot of the older generation running companies, if you didn't have that frame,
Yeah.
That degree is like, oh, but now I think everyone, not only because it's hard to find good people, now
Yeah.
you have to really be more flexible on who you hire.
Yeah.
Because you just can't be as picky as we used to be, right? It's not a thing anymore. And the shirt, and you guys know how this works. I'll go all over the place and then I'll come back to something, right? But SuperFlash, what are they?
So SuperFlash is a brand within an umbrella of another company.
Okay, explain.
So basically, SuperFlash became a company or a brand within a company back in 1993.
Okay.
So it was it still is a single owner based company who had been in the industry with many of the brands that we know.
Okay.
Like this industry, like you said, people bounce around and all that. He came up through that. That's Dave Marquardt.
Okay.
And he started the company in '93.
In '93. And this SuperFlash division under the umbrella of...
At that point, it was two kind of entities under one. It was the industrial side with SuperFlash compressed gas equipment, and then we had a medical side, Applied Home Healthcare.
Gotcha.
And that supported, the medical use of basically oxygen and everything related to that.
Got it.
So the home providers, the DMEs, the HMEs.
Okay.
And when I started as the general manager of SuperFlash, the industrial side.
All right, so when you started 21 plus years, which is kind of around the same time, it seems that way, how long had SuperFlash already been established when you came on board as the GM?
I guess it was 8 years.
8 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the goal to establish SuperFlash on the industrial side of things, what was that goal?
Yeah, it was really to kind of get the two entities to have their own identity, because they were separate, but within, a newer company starting out, how those lines get kind of blurred.
Correct.
So, we were using a lot of the same resources and things like that, and there are certainly economies in that.
Correct.
And there's other companies out there that kind of do similar things.
Yeah.
But we did need to find, our own identity on the industrial side, and that would tie into things like what we're at right now, a GATA regional meeting, and the FabTech meetings that we have, and the CGA committees and things like that. And we really had to separate that way.
To be able to really offer not just the customers, the end users, a really more visible product line, and so that you guys can even just understand it and sell it at a more clear way.
Yeah.
And so 20 plus years with the company, how did you start with SuperFlash?
So
where did they find you, or where did you find them?
I came across them prior to being in this industry. I was originally came out of school, was in marketing.
Okay.
So that was kind of like that first year job, and sometimes you get those first jobs that you got to get something on your resume.
Of course.
And then you realize, okay,
you're just happy somebody hired you.
Yeah, exactly. And you learn a lot, good and bad.
Yeah.
And after about a year, I moved on from there to a Fortune 500 company in gypsum.
Okay.
So I was, doing that I think I did that for 3 years, and they wanted to transfer. I got the opportunity to go to Chicago, went and checked it out, and it just wasn't right for me.
Correct. Not that, whatever.
So then I went to a smaller company. So I'd gone from a big company to a small company.
That's always an adjustment.
Yeah.
We don't have that budget. We can't do this. We can't do that, right?
Yeah. So it was a welding or a metals distributor, non-ferrous metals.
Okay.
So we were dealing with the big boys,
of course,
in the metal manufacturing. So you were a smaller company, but you were still dealing with bigger companies. Yeah. And I was there for 7 years, and that company got bought and moved, and that was the time where I started looking.
So that's the reason why your years with that company ended.
Yeah.
Because they got bought.
Yeah.
So now you found yourself without a job.
Well,
before.
I had this job before I left that job.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So you knew it was coming. You knew that, hey, I need to make a change. I need to find something. So you started looking. And so how exactly did you find SuperFlash, or vice versa?
Yeah. It was through like a mutual. This is pre LinkedIn and all those things, right?
Okay.
It was through a mutual friend that connected me with the owner of the company.
Okay.
So it was just one of those things that I knew this person. This person knew the owner of the company and knew my background.
Okay.
And so put us together.
Gotcha.
And from that standpoint, it was all right. We go in and do some interviews and.
Now, was it a click from the get-go? You guys met, and whatever he knew about you, it was enough for him to say, "You're the guy."
Yeah, I think so. I think with the background that I had coming into a business that had been about 8 years old, but Dave having his background in the business, we did have some connections. That is, you start talking to somebody, interviewing, you realize you kind of know the same people. You've dealt with some of the same
Correct.
people. Maybe the industries aren't the same,
Yep.
but there is. It's amazing how small it can be.
It is.
So yeah, there was definitely a click that way, and the fact that I could come in and kind of take something that was growing,
Yeah.
and kind of bring it into my own, vision of what it
Correct.
is, in conjunction, of course, with the owner,
Yeah.
and that vision, and do that. That was, it was exciting, especially coming from the different backgrounds I had.
Correct.
Where I'd seen a little bit of both, and
No, it's cool to know that you're part of the beginning and the growth and the next thing, whatever that's going to be for a company, because you know that you can bring a lot of value. Your ideas
Yeah.
are
Yes.
going to be listened to, and definitely it feels good to know, hey, whether we make it or not, I'm part of this whole thing.
Right.
So that's pretty cool, and that's amazing. Now, when you started with the company, the relationship you had and the experience you had in this other little niche of the, I'm not going to say the welding division, but the industry or trades, because of the metals and all that.
Right.
Was it easy to learn the products, the line, and the industry to be successful as a knowledgeable salesperson or GM? Or because you already had the relationships, it was easier just to build that first and then all that knowledge, super knowledge came after?
No, it was my avenue was really product based and training based first.
Okay.
Partly because you came from outside the industry, but partly because every company does different things.
Gotcha.
And our mix is different than somebody else's. Even the guys that we would technically compete with. You're hitting a competition in one part of their line and your line where they match up, but you do some different things than they do, and they do some
Correct.
different things. So it was really more about the training and knowing the products and all that
Got
first. And before, I didn't feel like it was the avenue to. You don't want to sit in front of a customer and not have a clue what you're talking about.
That is, yeah.
But I certainly know a lot more now than I did, year
Of course.
one.
I would hope so.
Right. But there was a lot. There's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot to learn, and training never ends. And that's,
It never ends. And whoever says that your crap, no, you don't.
Right.
Just every day you're learning something new, because even the end user is the one that, do you know that I can do this with this thing? I'm like, holy crap, no. I never knew that you could use my thing that way.
Right.
Yeah, so it happens all the
That's
time.
how products develop. That's how new customers come out, and we learn more from our customers maybe sometimes than they learn from us.
100%.
And that's one of the things that I really love about the industry.
Yeah, it's amazing. I agree with you 100%, because I run into people using something that I've been selling for 5-10 years, and I only have these 2-3 things that I think I can do
Right.
with them, and then they're like, oh no, look, I'm like, whoa, thanks.
You start thinking about your customers.
I know,
the
now
other
I can
customers,
use this and blah, 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 and do
Right.
that whole chain reaction.
or something you could go back to your engineering
Engineer and
team.
say,
yeah.
how come we didn't think about this, right?
Yeah.
But that's really cool. And now, being in the industry for so long, 20 plus years, what do you think is the biggest difference when, I'm not even going to say from when you started, I'm just going to say from 10 years ago and now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's obviously been a lot that's gone on, and you've got the wild card with COVID, and that changed a lot of things. So I think a lot of it has to do with the way you communicate anymore. you mentioned something like LinkedIn that
Yeah.
didn't exist many, many years
Yeah.
ago, and how it's picked up steam.
For sure.
And then the conference calls now over the phones,
Yeah.
and the ability to talk to somebody in another country.
Correct.
As long as the time zones get
Yeah.
worked out,
Yeah.
like it's a meeting in your office.
Yeah.
It's not the answer for everything, but it's changed a lot of
It
things.
has.
And I think there's a lot more positives than negatives out of that.
I agree. I can agree with that.
So, for me, just how you do your day-to-day stuff has changed so
Gotcha.
much.
Has your travel, because the access to social media now, has your travels actually picked up, or they are less, or the industry has grown enough that even with social media, you are traveling more because the business is growing?
Yeah, I don't think travel has really gone down that much, but I do think it's become more effective, because a lot of times when you're doing some of those things, you've already had maybe that first face-to-face meeting that you really haven't had.
Correct.
And I think that
So
becomes helpful.
it's easier. It's easier just to move the wheel that's already turning versus from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. Are you married?
I am.
Yeah. You have
Yes.
kids?
I have 2 kids.
2 kids? How long have you been married?
Been married 24 years.
Oh, all right. And your kids are how
My kids
old?
I have twins, a boy
Okay.
and a girl,
Yeah.
17. So they just turned 17 and going to be juniors in high school.
Really?
So we
What are they into?
they're into their own sports and activity. Now my daughter's really artistic.
Okay.
And
Then-
it's
so not
twins,
from you,
right?
yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
My wife is, right?
Yeah.
So you got a boy and a girl. He's right-handed, she's left-handed.
So you each got one. Your wife got one, and you got one.
Basically, they say that they have sometimes they offset kind of their
Yep.
interests and stuff, and she is artistic, and he's more like the business side minded, I would say.
Yeah.
The thinking things through in a
Gotcha.
certain way.
Analytical.
Yeah, and but boys and girls are obviously different.
Oh,
but
for
the
sure.
fact that they are twins, there is that weird connection.
Got it.
Even being opposite sex, there is
Really?
that weird where they read each other differently as that close of a siblings.
Gotcha.
But
Have they ever come with you to any of the shows, or?
no,
Yeah.
never been to any of that stuff. They've been to the office when they were
Okay.
young. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had some times when the weather was bad in the Northeast,
Correct,
and they'd
yeah.
come in for the day when school's closed. My wife was working
Gotcha.
downtown, and we couldn't leave them at home. We didn't have a sitter,
Of
so
course.
they come in. So they kind of know a little bit about the business.
Got it.
So they've been exposed, and our company's been really good over the years
Yeah.
of having something for the families. in the
Gotcha.
summers
That's
and
pretty
things.
cool.
Yeah.
Because where are you guys based out of? SuperFlash.
We are based out of, technically on paper, Orlando.
This is a very hard question.
It
as you
is.
guys
It's a
can
little more.
see.
It's a little more
Wow.
complicated. Orlando, Florida, is our corporate headquarters.
Okay.
However, when we started in '93, that was in Northeast Ohio.
Okay.
As you've grown, you move from one city to the next, but
course.
all in the same area.
Yeah.
So we have our main facility is still in Westlake, Ohio.
Okay.
Just 20 minutes from downtown Cleveland on the west side.
Gotcha.
We then opened up another facility in Orlando about 7 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I remember. I was actually at that open house. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And that became on paper the corporate headquarters, because there are certain things, that it makes sense for.
Yeah.
But the primary,
The original, the OG.
yeah, it's still got, still the largest location. It's still got the most, I'd say, front office people.
Okay, got it.
That, we do share some things, but so we have those 2 locations. We have a storefront location, not storefront from the standpoint of selling out of, but in like a strip mall.
Gotcha.
In Phoenix.
Really?
Yeah. So that's one of those things where, okay, this is even pre-COVID when we did this.
Yeah.
Like, you got to hit the West Coast quick.
Correct.
And I
yeah.
do think with COVID and some of the positives that came out of that, I think to a degree there's some of the transportation and shipping has gotten a little bit
Correct.
better.
Yes. Yep.
So
We had to find better ways, and
Yeah.
everyone was
And-
looking outside
yeah.
the norm, right?
right. So Phoenix is still there,
Okay.
and then we have opened in the last year a location up in Toronto area to obviously hit Canada, because the border just becomes a
Correct.
big thing.
Yeah.
And
It's easier just to have some stuff there and kind of
and with a lot of it has to do with our medical side too, because you start
makes sense.
bringing in, FDA things and all those things that, okay, that's the U.S.
Yeah.
but it's not Canada, and they do
Yep.
things different.
Correct.
And so we've opened that, and that's helped our footprint.
So knowing that, because I didn't know that you guys had these either satellites or other locations, however you want to call them. So as a whole, how many employees does SuperFlash has, give or take?
We're roughly about 80.
Oh, okay.
Spread
Wow.
across the footprint.
Gotcha.
And again, with the majority, being in Ohio.
Got it.
But each facility has their different things. They do focus on some
course.
different things. We do a lot of manufacturing up in Ohio, where we don't do as much of that in the other locations. So we'll, have certain products that we made out of Ohio, but then we may stock something in another part of the line
Gotcha.
in Florida.
And then assemble, finish the whatever the
Yeah,
finished product
yeah.
at whatever location.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a new distributor. I open a storefront. I open whatever you want to call it. I'm just a new distributor. You see me and you go, "Hey, Frank, do you know about SuperFlash?" And I go, "No freaking clue.
Right.
What do you guys do?" How does that conversation goes about how you can help me as a distributor?
Yeah. I mean, basically, we try and give an idea of within our product line. We've got some core different product lines, and you're really trying to get them to understand, okay, we've kind of got this lane and this lane and this lane.
Okay.
And see how that fits with them. Now, hopefully, I should do my homework before I'm talking to them or whatever. But distributors are pretty similar. They have, some of them focus a little bit more on this or that. But one of the things is with our having the industrial line and the medical lines, the SuperFlash and Applied, sometimes they may be a customer of the other side of the business,
Gotcha.
and they may not even realize it.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they are doing both industrial gas-related stuff
Okay.
and medical. So it opens up even more what we talk about. And maybe it's a situation where I talk to them about something that I then turn that over to the counterparts on the other side of the company. But really what I'm trying to talk to them about is welding safety stuff.
Okay.
With flashback arresters all the way up to large plant protection, burner type protection, gas mixers.
Okay.
Is something that is big, for us. Thermal spray. We do a lot of equipment for thermal spray. We don't necessarily do the powders because that's something that companies really focus on.
Gotcha.
But we do the mechanism to
Okay.
get that there. We're not doing torches, so to speak, but we'll do custom stuff.
I see.
So we have the ability to make large capacity torches up to, say, 4 feet in diameter, fully automated.
I see.
With complete systems, or something for bending steel plate into tubing.
Oh, okay.
And that could be, this thick and this wide, and it's 14 meters long, and you've got a burner that's under it that's preheating it.
Correct. So it can make it
so that the large equipment can kind of move it and turn it into that. So we can do a lot of custom things. So
that's interesting. Yeah. See, I'm learning myself because there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know, and I've known Kurt for, and we also our companies have synergy there, and they do similar thing, or we work together on certain things. So that's awesome to know. Now, you mentioned before, if you run into a customer that may be more into the medical side of things, then you kind of send that lead to your counterparts on the other side.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have a discussion that becomes meaningful between, and it may be a potential customer that will do business with both sides,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
So I will take that back, and I'll go over to my counterpart
Yeah.
on the other side, and I'll supply him with the information. And a lot of times he's maybe already kind of been familiar with it, which is good. So it's another opportunity for us to kind of connect people and open the door. And if it turns out that that's just an opportunity that's going to go with that side of the business, that's fine.
Correct. At the end of the day, it's going to end up in the same bank account.
Yeah, I mean, it's what the customer needs, right?
Correct. It's about the customer,
So,
for sure.
So it's really more about identification, and that's why we're doing these regional meetings. That's why we do the Fab Tech shows.
Correct. Yeah.
The way that we do.
Just building those relationships and just sharing all that brand knowledge. Now, something that I think that I'm not sure, because I've knew about this, but I usually forget, and then we revamped this conversation again the other day. You guys do safety trainings.
Yeah.
And what exactly is that? What is it that you guys do in these trainings?
Right. So the trainings that you and I have been discussing, we did some of this training earlier this year. That's on-site training. It's basically like a one-day class.
Okay.
Where there's full demonstrations and presentations, and it's really kind of tailored to what we do. We want to stay with our expertise in our lanes,
of course,
right? But training is, in general, for our company is really important. So our medical side does a hell of a lot of training too.
Okay.
They're doing stuff FDA required training.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Credit hours and
Yep.
stuff. We're doing that training more as a continuing education thing, because a lot of the people in our industry aren't required to
Not
have
at
this
all.
training. But, turnover is bigger than it's ever been.
Yep.
And we're doing more with less than we've ever done.
Yep.
And we are all resources for our customers, but the best thing we can do is pass on our expertise.
Correct.
On what we do. So we really, I think anybody knows if you want to get a customer and you want them to be loyal to you, you got to give them more than price.
Here's a product. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to teach them how to sell it and how to understand it. So our training is really centered around what our niches are.
Gotcha.
It's welding safety. It is gas mixers and things like that. So we stay within our lane, but it's still oxy-fuel training.
Correct. Yeah.
So-
Yeah. It's a broad, and that's awesome, because that's, like I said, even though I've been in the industry for 15 years, and I remember talking about this before, I kind of knew you guys did it, and I've never done it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say, shame on me, because I really should have. Knowledge is knowledge.
Yeah.
So that's why we're talking about this, because I definitely want to do that, and then with our new person that we have,
Sure.
I definitely want her to be exposed to that too.
Well, it's we don't charge for the training.
Yeah.
Because, again, we've all had to pay our way up through everything we've done in life, right?
Correct.
Nothing's free. And you could even say, well, nothing's free with the training.
Yeah.
But nothing's free from the training, because you got to get there.
Exactly.
We're not paying your way necessarily.
Correct.
And we had people, we did the training in Orlando at our office down there. And we had people from, California come in for it, as well as, Alabama, and some regional guys came in. So they incurred those costs, but at the same time, a lot of those guys came in and they built calls around.
Of course,
what they were doing.
Yeah.
So we were training distributors, OEMs, and end users. So it depends on the training. I will tailor the training, or our people, whatever training they do.
Depending on the group that's there.
Depending on the group, yeah. And, if it's straight distributors, you're kind of looking in a certain way. The overall skill stuff that we're training is going to be the same.
Got it.
But you have
it's the delivery that it mainly changes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
No, and it makes sense. You got to connect and know your crowd. That's like public speaking, right? Know your audience, and that's exactly how you develop and cater that delivery to them.
Yeah.
Where would you like to see yourself in the next 5-10 years?
Well, I'm not getting younger, so
For me, I'm just getting better and better.
Right.
Like wine, guys.
Right, but 10 years or so, I'll be pretty close to retirement age.
Okay.
So, but
do you see yourself actually retiring? Is that one of the things?
No.
Because I'm 46 now, and I see a lot of friends and a lot of colleagues in the industry that I'm going to retire, or they have retired, and they're like, physically and mentally they can still do the thing. And it's more like a condition of the mind. We've all been taught that, hey, when you hit this certain age, you got to retire.
Right.
So that, at least that's my answer. Like I right now, ask me again in 5 years, I'll probably say I'm freaking done. Who knows? But yeah. So you think that as long as you're capable, you would probably stay doing something?
I don't think I'm good at not working.
I don't know how not to.
I'm not a patient person when it comes to relaxing, or
I know.
I love to see these nice areas that we
Yeah,
go
it-
to,
yep.
and that's a benefit of
That's a
some
perk.
of the things we do.
Such a great perk.
But if I was on my own and you said go, sit at the pool or the beach for a day, I can't do that. It's nice. I look at it.
I know. I'll go there for an hour or two.
Yeah.
Like next.
Yeah.
Yep.
I kind of need to be doing things. So, and plus all the people that you see in this industry, we've been in the industry long enough. We've known people that have been here forever.
Yep.
And you see how they are, and they enjoy the friendships and the
camaraderie,
relationships
yep.
and their expertise that you build.
Exactly.
You get these guys too that are retiring. Maybe they come out of a larger company that
Yep.
does kind of have more of a finality of
Yep.
retirement, whether it's forced or it's just
Correct.
natural.
Yeah. Or
But-
physically, you just can't do what. Yeah.
Or the job you were doing,
It's
you
so
couldn't do it at that
demanding, yeah.
pace. But now they go into kind of like consulting. A lot of times they're hired back by that same company.
I know. Actually, there's a few
Yeah.
in this show.
And they
that's
seem
happened.
happy as heck, right?
I know.
Because
Yeah.
they've got a little more free time. There's more liberty. They still get to deal with the industry and
Yep.
the people that they've had all these relationships with. So I could certainly see transitioning to some sort of, movement through that as I've gone from, general manager and dealing in product management side. And there was a period of time as I was coming through that I did do some work for years on our medical side too. So
Gotcha.
I have
You have that
background on
back-
that.
yeah.
So it's kind of like to get you, more well-rounded within the business that you're
Correct.
in. So, I know when I look at our company, there's always going to be opportunity. They're always going to need some support, and they will probably need consulting help.
Correct.
you know?
100% sure.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I know you guys are part of different committees and different associations and all that. So CGA is one of them, right?
Yeah.
And what else are you guys part of, or buying groups and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, we're involved with AIWD.
Okay.
We're involved in a lot of these things, through our other customers because we
I see.
do a lot of kind of behind the scenes
Got it.
manufacturing.
Got it.
And we get to market different ways.
Okay.
It's not always that straight line
Gotcha.
direction. And there's companies like your company, and there's other companies
Yeah.
out there that have a sales force that really does a good job, and they're in these
Already other
yes,
markets
yeah,
or other.
yeah, or they're going down to Mexico at FabTech and stuff like that, right? We're still not a huge company.
Yeah.
We've got other brands, so our focus is, we've got Brittany Victor in
Correct.
sales for me, and she came up through our marketing, and there's basically the two of us kind of handling
Are the
sales
face
side.
out
So
there, yeah.
we're not able to get out there and knock on doors
Correct.
all over the country.
Yeah,
It just-
I agree.
you
I
got to
agree.
work with what you have and to figure out the best way.
Use the resources, the power.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I'm on the same boat, so I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. Well, no, but that's pretty cool. I mean, you guys, I think you've done, like I said, you've done this long enough, and everyone knows you in the industry, and it's one of those things that I love what you guys do on the trainings. It's kind of like a paying it forward kind of thing, but at the same time, it's branding. Let's not get it twisted. It helps you guys connect and build those stronger relationships, which is so important. And lastly, after this show, are you going to go home for a few days? Or are you going to rest, or are you just going to go
Yeah,
do
no.
laundry and go right back out?
No, I'm going. We're going home Thursday.
Yeah.
And that'll take most of the day, and then I'll be back in the office on Friday. And you know how it is. You're in and out. Friday's like catch up
Yeah.
and try and figure out how quickly can you catch up to a degree. You're trying to keep up while you're on the road, but there are different things you need to see people or whatever, and then figure out what you got, the next week.
Yeah.
And are you back out the door? Now, I won't be because school's starting back up, so it's
That's right.
That week is always kind of like, all right, you're back, you're
Yeah.
home based. You're going into the end of summer, Labor Day,
Yeah.
and then we'll be back out at CGA events in September. And now
Gotcha.
with the schedule with FabTech moving into,
The GATA annual.
yeah. We may have somebody at the GATA, but I'm going to go and focus on FabTech.
Gotcha.
It's it's unfortunate the way that played out. It was
I know, it's not nobody's fault. Correct, yeah.
And you certainly would want to support both, but it's hard to do when it's Sunday in Phoenix and you got to be on the show floor setting up on Monday morning.
Dude, I'm doing that red eye. I'm flying out
Yeah.
Monday night. Red eye, I get to Orlando from Phoenix around 5 or 6 a.m.
Yeah, Monday morning or Sunday?
Tuesday morning.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm going straight to hotel, drop off the
Oh,
crap.
you don't have to set up.
No, I'm sending. Yeah, there's going to be a couple of other guys. That's the only reason why I'm able to do it this way this time around. Because if not, I would have left. So
The Orlando location, helps because you have people that are a little closer.
Correct. So that's
For
why I
us-
have the extra help. Yeah.
Yeah, for us, we can have people come over and
Yeah.
and help set up.
Makes
That's just
sense.
kind of one of the coincidental things when you travel as much as we all
dude.
do. Sometimes, once in a while, little parts of it work out.
Yeah, it'll be almost 14 days on the road by the time I go to GATA / FabTech and home. I'm like, yay, that's awesome. But hey, it is what it is. Not complaining. I love what I do, and definitely it's something that once in a while doesn't hurt. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But just to end this conversation, I want to thank you once again for not just sitting here and having this conversation with me, and hopefully people get to learn a little bit more about Kurt, about SuperFlash, what they do, how you guys can reach out to them, and hey, you never know. I've had many conversations before where then people text me privately and ask me, hey, can you connect me? Can you do this? Can you do that? And that, for me, that's when this whole thing wins. Everyone wins, and it's not about me. It's just, hey, look, somebody else that maybe you didn't know, another company that maybe you didn't know. And that's awesome. So I thank every one of you for always supporting the channel. And I want to thank you for your friendship throughout the years, for always just being a cool dude. And definitely, we've had many, many drinks together in many different cities.
Different places.
And different places. And I know that you're also a whiskey bourbon guy. There's one more thing that kind of connects us. And sorry, it is what it is. But yeah, so thank you again for all the years. Thank you for just always saying hi and coming over, and just it's always good to see you. I'm like, oh, there's a friendly face.
Well, I appreciate it, and same to you. And every time we come someplace, it's like, all right, where's Frank? And we don't even have to pretty much text or something.
Yeah, it's like, are you coming? It's like, well, pretty much I know that somebody's going to be there, and that's almost like the comfort blanket that that most of us have. Of course, we're here for specific reasons, sales, and sometimes, the ratio of distributors versus, the reason why we come here. Every show is different, and it is what it is. But at least we know I'm going to see some friends, and it just works, and it makes it happen.
Industries, what do they always say? Once you're in, it's hard to get out.
It's a twilight zone. Once you're in,
and it may be that way in other industries.
It's like, oh, look, another logo on that shirt. That's all you see.
Whole new
same
wardrobe.
Same face.
But
again, thank you so much. Now, this is how this works. Now we get to go and do the, what is it that's happening next? I can't remember. The
dinner. But I don't, it's a reception.
Yeah, the reception. The opening reception, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Again, clueless. It's been a long day. But thank you again, brother. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You guys know how this works. Hopefully you guys learned something about Kurt and SuperFlash, and I'll be somewhere else with somebody else, because like I've always say, if they keep saying yes, who the hell am I to say no? All right? So see you on the next one with somebody else. Thank you. Torch Cells out.
Thank you.